Fantastic. Not only did I hit the right buttons in the right order, but then everything worked afterwards. Hello, everyone. My name is Carol Brown, and welcome to Panel by Panel, which is a possibly one-time stream that I am doing because I would like to bring this wonderful cast who will introduce themselves together to give a critique of Danny's comic. And before they do that, Danny, would you please say what your comic is?
It is a rural Midwestern family's act of kindness goes horribly wrong and turns into a supernatural home invasion, leaving Emma Hogan to survive the night alone as her twin brother, Jimmy Hogan, has to race against the clock to save his family from forces unknown before they are lost forever. Amish vampires.
I think she meant title.
That works too.
Well, she said what? Okay, well, I'm just telling you what's about. But anyway, yeah, Veiled Legacy, Book 1, Midwest Gothic.
It's beautiful. Thank you. So that is what we will be reviewing today. I'm actually glad that you include the summary, so I didn't have to ask that question. So let's go ahead and we'll start with Aaron about who are you and where can people find you?
Hi, I'm Aaron Sparrow. I am a comic book writer and editor. I work in video games. I work in animation on occasion. And you can find me on Twitter. But if you want a less volatile me, then you can find me on Instagram.
Excellent. Andrew, I choose you.
Choose me. I'm not a Pokemon. Well, at least not today. Or maybe I am today. I am one of the editors and writers and social media manager and a couple other hats over at the Riververse. I created Arcstream, who is our resident speedster. I also stream on World Class Bullshitters every Tuesday night with Mr. Sparrow over there, most nights, when he's not dying. I also have a Harry Potter lore channel that I run with my lady called Room of Requirement, which is a ton of fun. And I suggest people check that out. And I also suggest people check out my new comic book review channel with my buddy Spencer, Foil Variant.
Excellent. Marv, who are you and where can we find you?
I am Marvin Montanaro. I am the editor-in-chief of ThatParkPlace.com, the managing editor of GeeksAndGamers.com. I've worked in the writing industry for probably the last 20 some odd years. I was a professional journalist for a long time. I worked as a ghostwriter, so I have over 30 novels under my belt under various different pen names. At one point in time, my job was literally to write an 80,000 word novel every single month and turn it into my publisher. So did that for a while, and that can really kind of kill your creative drive for a little bit. But currently, I also have my YouTube channel, the M4 Empire, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows and all that other fun stuff. Various live streams throughout the week, including Culture Crossfire, which I do with the Real Life Fake Wizard, the M4 Cast, which I do with the lovely Carol Brown right here, and a whole bunch of other ones. I'm also pretty consistently on the WW Pro channel and That Park Place channels as well.
Excellent. Danny, it's your turn, guest of honor.
Yay! My name is Danny Sansasi. I have a channel called Comics And where I go live Wednesday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, talking about all the stuff that's going on in the news of our nerdy pop culture world. On Thursdays, I co-host a little show called Plot Holes and Payoffs with my twin, Miss Carol Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her. Oh, there she is. She's down there.
I'm here. I'm okay.
Yeah. And I also do breakdowns of all kinds of different comic books, comic book characters, different nerdy shows while doing my makeup at the same time. But it's okay. I don't ever talk about the makeup or reference it in any other way. And hey, guess what? I'm also an indie comic creator too and a published author. So there's that nugget for you as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, as you guys can see, we have people from very different parts of industry with different levels of experience coming to bring their expertise to come in to discuss the comic. Now, I did send the comic to everybody. Now, first question is, did you all read it?
Yes.
That's what I had to do this week. No,
you had to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read it.
Excellent. So, and also, I just want to let you know, Aaron, that in solidarity of you being sick, I decided to get sick. So, if anybody's kind of like, why is Kara such low energy today? I literally got like my own energy sucked out of me. Yeah.
Don't breathe out. Don't breathe over here.
That kind of fits the theme since we'll be talking about vampires today. Is having the I'm actually on the mend. I'm feeling pretty good. But it's the ebb and flow. We're the yin and yang. Carol is
okay.
Now I'm well and now you're sick and then you'll get better and I'll get worse.
I don't know how I feel about that, but that's okay. So if anybody's looking at me and being like, man, Carol looks like death warmed over, I am. I am, but I really wanted to be here because this was important. I promised Danny I would do it. So, general rules for feedback is you may be honest with your comments. Just don't go out for blood, technically. So.
No, I would never do that. That's not
funny.
It's about vampires. Yeah, that was my really bad joke.
So, no, I appreciate you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So, very first question, and I'm not going to pick anybody. You can volunteer yourselves. That we're going to go over is what stood out to you the most in a good way.
I would say the thing that immediately struck me is this is one of the most professionally structured and written scripts that I have read in a long time. It's extremely professionally done, and that impressed me right off the bat. I was like, oh, good, this is going to be an easy read, because sometimes you'll get a script and from somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing or hasn't learned how to structure a script, and everybody kind of has a different format, especially in the comic book industry. It's fairly standardized in most, but in comics it can be a wild and varied thing. So I thought that it was very easy to get through.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That Caro showed me the way.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Here's the thing. My thing that I loved the most was just how quickly the plot moves. You jump right into it, and it never stops. Like it's all rise, I think, and it makes the 40 pages fly by very quickly. Like to the point where I was literally like, "Oh, am I done?" And I realized I had just read 40 pages of a script. So I think that you don't waste any time. There's no wasted real estate whatsoever on any of your pages. To echo, I mean, you have everything laid out so meticulously and wonderfully. I mean, I really love the vivid detail that you go into, man. You are not afraid to show some really creepy stuff in your work. Like you have a dark, twisted mind, and I love it. I remember I was reading it, I said to Caro, I was just like, wow, this panel made me uncomfortable. And she was just like, I think that's the point. And I was like, oh, yeah.
There's also a really nice kind of cinematic thing that you do that, I don't see in a lot of scripts where, you do the kind of movie transitions. So you go from the glow of a cell phone, and then you bring that into you transition into the next scene, and it's the glow of the alarm clock. And it kind of one scene feeds into the other really nicely as in transition. And you don't see a lot of that. And I was impressed with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well done. Very well done.
I really appreciate that.
What stood out to me was actually, and this is something that's always tricky to do just in writing in general, not just in comic books, but having characters that feel like people.
Yeah.
I've read so many scripts and also just professionally produced comics that everybody either sounds the same, so they have the same character voice, or they just don't sound like people. They sound like cardboard cutouts of people. Or they sound very, run-of-the-mill kind of, I don't want to say antiquated, but very tropey versions of a type of character, of an archetype. And this didn't have that feel. These felt like actual human beings. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm reading a story about people, actually. Well, that's good, because I'm a character writer and a character reader as well. I care far less about the crap happening in the world compared to how I care about the people. Because if I care about the people, I'm going to inevitably care about what happens to them. But if I don't care about the people, I'm not going to care about anything.
Yeah, that was one thing that, you do get right into the action. And that's, for grabbing a reader, that is perfect. You want to hook them in, and but as I got through it, just to Andrew's point, the characters felt so real that I actually kind of felt a little bit bad that I didn't get to spend a little bit more time with them and learn who they were before we got into the action. But that was just because you had written them so well that I was like, okay, well, I want to know a little bit more about they're already in this situation, and I'm already kind of going along on the journey with them and empathizing, and oh my God, this is horrific, these things that are happening. But it did make me go, man, I wonder what it made me curious about what their life was like before all this started to go down. I want to see a little bit more of the interaction, maybe.
I will say I will second or third that, I guess, because the characters are fleshed out enough where to the point where when bad things happen throughout the book, I'm trying to not give spoilers, but when bad things happen, you're like, oh no, like in 40 pages, you don't expect to get that attached, and I definitely got attached. And there are moments of you do tension very well. And there's several moments of tension, whether it's hiding and trying to not be found. I really enjoy that. And just to echo again, I really like the transitions between the twins. I like how you go back and forth from what one of them's doing to the other. And you drop a lot of, you do a really good job of dropping just enough to keep the reader wanting to come back for the second book, because there's so many questions that I have and that I asked and you wouldn't tell me after I read it. So, like you definitely like sparked the creative fire there and made me want to learn more about this world and these characters and see what comes next.
That really, really means a lot, especially with the characters' voices, because that was very important to me. I tried to be incredibly mindful that they were very specific, so that I worked very, very hard on that with the book and the comic. So thank you for that. That means a lot.
Outstanding. Now, what I liked about your comic is that you actually had a good idea and you executed it really well. I say that because when you first asked if I was willing to read your comic last December, I was like, yeah, go ahead and send it my way. And I remember talking to you about it. And first off, you were extremely receptive to feedback. I've definitely worked with writers who, when I give feedback, it's like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, I mean, I've only been doing this for like 10 years. I mean, what do I know? Right. And when the only real critique I have is about your script format, that's usually a pretty good sign. So you came in strong with a good idea, and when I provided suggestions, they were easy for you to implement. Like you didn't even struggle with it. Like you were immediately like thinking of ways to like pivot and turn things in, which speaks a lot to your creativity. So now
that is such a good thing, speaking from an editing perspective, because like when you're a writer and you put stuff out, people always want you to read their stuff, and I always have a rule with people when they ask me for feedback. I'm like, you are not allowed to use the phrase yeah but. And
that's a good rule.
And I get the feeling from that you're not a yeah but person.
I'm not. I respect Caro greatly. I respect her experience, her expertise, her talent, and she delivers the feedback. I come from a world where feedback wasn't exactly a very nice word. So the way I got it was always in a way that it was hurtful. It was something that was very scary. But when Caro would deliver feedback, it didn't feel like, it was a bad thing ever at all. It was just like, what if this? Or what if we framed it this way? Or it was just really questions. And I would think about it like, no, you're absolutely right. This is a really good suggestion. So I mean, I would never, she was gifting me with her time, which is absolutely precious. I'm not going to waste it by being an a-hole and saying, yeah, but I know more than you, because
how did this turn into crazy me? I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, I'm showing my gratitude and why I reacted the way I did to your feedback. So that's why.
Okay.
No, I will confirm that Caro was one of the people that I trusted to give me feedback on Kneel Before Doomface #1. I had gotten it into pretty much like the shape that I wanted it, and she still went through and found a few things that I had missed. And it's really important, even as an editor, to have somebody else look at your stuff, because you are so close to your own work and it makes sense in your head. And sometimes you need somebody who's completely impartial to come in and look at it and give you feedback.
And really, that is kind of the mark of the actual professional writers and the ones who are just basking in their own ego, right? Like when you can give somebody something, a colleague or a friend, and they can give you that advice, and you can step aside and look at it from their perspective and see the value in that instead of feeling attacked. There are far too many people out there that, you know, when they get the slightest critique of their work, they fall to pieces, because really what they want is they just, you know, want you to tell you how perfect it is. Like, I'm working on a secret project right now that Carol has read and gave me feedback, and it was one of my favorite creative conversations ever, because it was like a game of ping pong. We were basically bouncing the ideas back and forth to each other, and in the end, you've created something so much better than what was originally there, because now you've got, you know,
it adds value, it elevates, and there he is. Evan is magic.
Spectacular artist.
But our artist, the amazing Evan Scale, artist for Veiled Legacy.
I'm geeking out that he's out there, because I'm a huge fan of his work.
Yeah, look, Evan, you have fans. How's that feel?
It's incredible.
We love you,
Evan.
Evan.
Way more fans.
It's funny that you said it was like a game of ping pong, because I tell Caro those are our wall meetings. Like, I bounce ideas off of her and vice versa. You know, like,
no, she goes into character. She starts doing like a one-woman stage performance in front of me, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to get feedback, but I'm too busy watching. Like, I don't think I'm...
I guess that's how I keep my characters distinct in their own voices, because I literally become my characters.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, the perception seems to be amongst people who are not professional or you know, egomaniacal. You know, they might be professionals, but they're egomaniacal. Is that they don't want anybody looking at their stuff because they're afraid that you're going to change it, and you know, that you're going to come in, you're going to go, no, this doesn't work. You know, that you're really going to tear it apart. You're going to, you know, just completely eviscerate their vision or try to change it into something that it's not. And if you're dealing with a good editor, a really good editor is going to ask you, well, what is it you're trying to accomplish with this? You know, what is the story that you're trying to tell? And then they're going to help you pare away cut away the fat and kind of streamline it to be the best version of the thing that you want it to be. You know, there's editing that I do for people where I go through and I'm rewriting every single line, but I'm rewriting it with their intention in mind. I'm just structuring it a little bit differently so that it reads better. And then I give that back to them, and I, you know, to learn from it, to say, like, look, this reads better, this moves quicker. I'm not changing what it is. I'm just giving them the best possible version of it, suggesting it to them, and they can take it or leave it, because if it's their project and they're coming on and they're hiring you as an editor, they have the final say, you know. And so if they can either listen to you or they can, you know, do it their own way. But ultimately, it's feedback.
The key word you said there, learning. That's exactly how I treated that very first experience. I mean, that's how I still treat our editing sessions together, is learning. I'd never written a comic book before. I had just written prose before. I had no idea what I was doing. I basically wrote a screenplay. That was the first version, was a screenplay. So I went into that first meeting with the attitude of ears open, mouth shut, you know, open to suggestion, because she's the one who's been doing this as a professional for a long time, and she's been doing it very successfully. So my job at this meeting is just to listen and be open to suggestion, to elevate the project and learn what I can from this very talented and successful woman. So I like to think that's what happened.
So we're changing the subject now. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. So we talked about what stood out to us in a good way. So I'd like us to take a time to say, is there a character you read and thought, this could use a little tune-up?
There were characters I thought were going to be around longer than they were.
Yeah.
which speaks to, you know, the fact that you kind of like gave them a voice. You know, they didn't feel throwaway. They felt like they were going to be important to the story, and then you're like, oh no, they're dead. Are
they?
Yeah, or are they? Well, I mean, undead maybe. You know, this is a vampire book. I can't think of anybody that really needed a tune-up, but like I said, I would have liked, and it was only once I got deeper into the story where I was like, I'm kind of interested in these characters, that I was like, you know, maybe I would have liked a little bit more with each character before all the chaos starts happening. I did think to myself, I did laugh out loud at Amish vampires. That was unexpected.
Yes, me
and
too.
then yeah, that was pretty genius. And I don't know, I guess I went into it thinking, just by the initial pitch that I had read on your Kickstarter, I had gone in thinking this is going to be kind of like a Buffy type story, Buffy the Vampire Slayer type story, female protagonist, killing vampires kind of thing. That's what I expected when I went in, and I didn't get that. I got something completely different, and it was surprising. You will draw comparisons to Buffy; it's inevitable because it's a female protagonist against vampires. But this is not like Buffy at all. This is its own thing. And at the end, I remembered that you had said that the protagonist was going to be disabled. And as I was reading through it, I remember thinking to myself, I guess maybe she abandoned the disabled thing. And then I got to the end and I was like, oh no,
there it is.
I see. Yep, there it is. Okay,
this is how it happens. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm not stepping into a world where I'm finding out how this happened. And I thought that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the setup for that was pretty good, because we live in an age where everybody is like super, I don't know, touchy about certain things when it comes to, certain things being in media, and just about anything can be done if it's done well. And this wasn't a story about, look at me, I have a disabled protagonist. No, this is something happens to this character that you make people actually give a damn about while they're reading it. And so you actually care about what happens to her when that happens. And you're like, oh, that freaking sucks. Right? So you actually care about how she got to that point. And that's something that is completely missing from so much media today, because you could do things like that, but just make the reader care. Right? That's all you have to do.
I think the fact that we were with her for the inciting incident for the handicap, I think really draws a connection that's going to make it serve the story well, as opposed to just being, something that we start out with and, people could look at it as like, oh, here we go, or something like that. And like, we're here. We know how this happened. We were there for it. Like, we experienced it. We lived it. As far as a character that I thought could use a tune-up, the only thing that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of, the connection between, the brother character, his name is escaping me at the moment.
Jimmy.
I would have liked to have seen more, because we know that Jimmy and his father have clashed. But we don't really know what Jimmy and his family mean to each other. And that made, I almost didn't connect as well with his need or desire to get back to them, other than just being like, this is his family and we know what that means. Now, that's not necessarily a critique of the story, because I think it's more of a critique of, hey, you had like only limited pages to do this, and you can't tell that full story already. So I am assuming that, because the first time we really see him interact with a member of the family is not until the very end of the book. So I think I would have liked to have seen more of what they meant to him, so that his struggle to get back to them would have felt more poignant. But again, from a story perspective, I don't know where you could have possibly fit that in. So that's more of just like, damn you, universe, as opposed to any kind of fault with, the story itself.
Yeah, like there's a bit in like the first 2 pages, it like the very first panel is him and his parents,
right? We know they're pissed. Yeah, we know they're pissed at each other.
And he kind of mentions it, like they're kind of mentioning it when he's on the phone with Emma about wanting to go away to college out of town, and his father's, for some reason, not wanting him to do that, wanting him to stay here and just with them. And there's my boy.
Look at that, Evan scale art.
Just picked it right out of my noggin.
There's a part where he's running in those chucks, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna pay for that later."
Yeah,
yes, man, he is. So many blisters, so many. But yeah, NDA. There's more. It'll come up,
and that's the thing. I know that there's more, and that it just makes me want to read the second one more to get that little bit of extra.
Yeah, I think it's a solid first issue hook. I would definitely, if I was buying this off the rack, I would definitely come back and check out the second issue because I'd want to know where it was going. There is a moment when the inciting incident happens that I got like a real like Evil Dead vibe. The vampire in the basement window. Like I was just like, oh, I could see, I could definitely see this being like super creepy. And so those are like comparisons in the best way. Not that you have like, not that this book is like an over the top kind of Sam Raimi style horror, but like just that moment was so visceral and so creepy and unexpected that I could definitely see it happening in a Sam Raimi film.
Thanks. You have no idea how many people think I've written like some kind of girly romance or whatever comic. Like when I show them the splash page, it's the reaction on their face is pretty strong. When we went to wiffle ball last weekend, one of our friends was like, I definitely want to get a couple for my girls who are 8 and 10.
Oh no!
And I said, let me show you a couple pages before you pull the trigger on that one. And when I did, he was like, yeah, that's what I showed him. And he's like, oh, I said, yeah, this is not for children. He's like, you wrote this? And I said, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I do have to say, I wish I could take credit for the Amish vampires. And this is everyone's favorite thing to point out. They're like, you're a genius. Amish vampires. That's crazy. It wasn't my idea. It was
who suggested? Yeah. She said, what if the vampires were Amish?
And the reason why...
How Joe Quesada of you.
The reason why is because in the original novel, it was written in like 2003 to early 2004. And back then it wouldn't have been completely unheard of for a couple of guys to show up at your door saying, oh, our car broke down. Can we use your phone? Like they don't have a cell phone on them. Like that's not, that's would have been kind of normal. But here we are 100 years later. That'd be suspicious. Like, why don't you have
cell phones have really taken a lot of tension out of the writer's toolbox, haven't they?
Yeah, really
so many things can just be solved. But
I will say I have a pet peeve with writers where every time they want to like do something with the scene, suddenly people are like taking their phones out and taking pictures, and it's become like a thing where I'm like, stop doing that. Like, just stop, because at some point the cell phones are going to age out, and now you've like aged your material.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you had somebody on a wall phone in a script, that was just of the time. And what really bothered me is when all the comic companies were doing the selfie covers. I was like, this is immediately frustrating to me.
No, I'd hated that too.
Yeah. And it's like, but I definitely like, especially if you're like in a city setting or something like that, of course people would take their phones out because that is what happens. But you don't need it in every single dramatic scene. You can.
The reason why I said it was a very Joe Quesada comment of can the vampires be Amish was when they did Marvel Apes years ago. Joe Quesada was the editor-in-chief of Marvel. There was a story in one of the back issues, and I almost called it a famous story, but I actually don't think many people know about it, where the writer says that Joe Quesada called him and said, hey, can the apes be vampires? And I thought it was the funniest editor's note I've ever heard in my life. Can the apes be vampires? And a few years ago, I did a panel at MegaCon about book writing and whatnot. And the panel right before me was Joe Quesada. And so I see Joe Quesada. We would kind of pass each other as he's coming off the stage. I'm going to set up on the stage. And I put my hand out. I said, hi, Marvin Montanaro. Good to meet you. We shook hands. And I said, so can the apes be vampires, huh? And he looked at me like he had no idea what I was. And I said, Marvel Apes, and he goes, "Oh God!" And he just like he was like, "Yeah," like he like winced. So yeah, can the vampires be Amish? Is definitely a can the apes be vampires?
But he wants about one more day. Okay.
Was it asked in the way that like he was saying, the apes were already vampires, and he was like, "Can apes be vampires?" Again,
no. It was the apes were not vampires, and he said. Can the apes be? Can we make them vampires?
I'd read a book where Blade was killing vampire apes.
I would too.
Well, the Amish suggestion she made was more genius than she had realized at the time, because the book is set in Southeast Missouri, and it's like a fictionalized version of the town where I grew up in my adolescence, where I live now. And there's actually a really quite a large Amish community near, like, in this town. And when she suggested that, like, this huge neon light just popped on in my brain, and I was like, oh,
Man,
that's perfect. Like, you have no idea how perfect that is.
I love the Amish so much, man. Like
I do too.
I was at an Amish farmer's market with a friend of mine who has a Cybertruck, and he drove us there. And so we get there, and we get out, and I'm there with Lorne, and I'm there with like Nolan from the M4cast. And so we get out of the car, and my friend parks the Cybertruck, and the Amish came out like of the cornfields, like as if a spaceship had just landed in their midst.
That's terrifying.
They were so fascinated by the Cybertruck, and they kept asking questions about it.
That's amazing.
They're really lovely people. They really
are so nice.
They really are. And
go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, after I had made the suggestion, I had given myself homework because I didn't know a lot about the Amish, and so I was like, well, she's gonna do it. I'm gonna have to read it just so that way I know if it's correct. It is correct, by the way.
So you became an expert on the Amish over the weekend, like you do with everything else.
Yeah.
So you learned that their religious belief is that God said that once you hit 1830, technology had come far enough.
Because it was like that belief is about the fact that technology takes you away from God. It's a distraction because it brings you into the worship of self instead of the worship of God, and creates a distance between.
Oh, never is that more evident than our culture now.
Yeah. So I was reading it, and I was like, I'm having feelings right now.
What's interesting though is that they do have to use some electricity with some of the things that they do because of legal stuff. Like they have to have like sprinkler systems at the farmers market and stuff like that, like for fire systems.
Yeah, they have rules. Yeah, they have
lit exit signs and things like that. Or the buggies have to have a blinker on the back of them.
Yeah. They obviously have like some rules and whatnot, but like when it comes to like the homestead, like. It's out. So like Andrew said, I became an expert of the Amish over the weekend.
She was reading my dialogue and she's like, I gotta check this.
So I mean, because I don't want to make recommendations and then be bad to the source material, right? But you did great. Like I even like listened to some like interviews and whatnot, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Mostly because it's like it's too easy to like write about a demographic and then like completely misrepresent and do tropes and whatnot, and that was my main concern. I didn't, it was my idea, so like I had to be like responsible for it. But yeah, no, Danny did really, really great with that. And then I had planted this suggestion, but I mean, like this did not come from me at all. Oh wait, hold on, let me do this right. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Hey, Aaron. Hey.
I'm a streamer, guys. This was not my idea. Like this all came from Danny's head. Like the way that she constructed the Amish. And I know we're supposed to talk about characters that we could tune up, but let's just take a look at this gorgeous guy.
I mean, bro looks like he could use some proactive or something. Yeah,
I like how you basically turn. They kind of almost look like the Master from Buffy, like as just like their like base form there, where instead of going with just like the humans with fangs or the forehead ridges or whatever, you went like full on bat creature.
It's a little more Nosferatu than your Vampire Diaries or something.
My meeting with Evan, I told him what I see is like a mixture of Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampires and Sloth from the Goonies. Like I want them to really personify how vile and evil they are on the inside. I want them to be this, just like they are human when they are seducing, when they're bringing the prey in. But when they turn, it's very Vampire Hunter D. The skin tears off and who they really are on the inside comes out. It shows just how vile and twisted and corrupt they really are. And nobody nobody could do this better than Evan. Like, he really, really knocked it out of the park.
Well, when you said you wanted to do something that was like creepy and scary, I was like, oh, that's Evan. Like, that's absolutely Evan. So that's like, I know. Andrew, what is it about our artists that we know where they just like to do horror all the time? I don't know.
Marcos loves designing creepy shit. Igor loves drawing creepy shit and designing creepy shit. Kanan loves designing and drawing creepy shit. Evan loves designing and drawing creepy shit. I
think they have something in common. Yeah. Did anybody else want to talk about a character that maybe they were like, maybe this or that?
I think I covered what I had to say on this one. Yeah, like I said, I didn't think anybody needed a particular tune-up. I just wanted a little bit more of everybody.
Excellent. All right, so that was a nice long pause. So we're going to move on to the next question and make sure I spelled everything correctly. Okay, I did. All right, so the next question was there a part that you felt was slower than it needed to be? So we're talking a little bit about pacing.
No, I think everything moved quickly. This, there was no slowdown moments in this, except for when we would cut away to what Jimmy was doing. That's the only time that like the foot came off the pedal a little bit, but it was still building the tension because you were cutting away from the horrific things that were happening, and you just kind of wanted Jimmy to get back there, wondering what he could do. But at least at least someone would be coming back to help.
And I think that builds the tension. So like the slowdown there, I think actually serves the story. I agree, though. I don't think there was any part in this that was slower than it needed to be. This was all, like I said, all rise. It was all accelerant. And in the moments that are quieter when there's not action, it always is serving the story or building toward the tension of the moment, which I think is in a horror piece is very, very important.
Well, yeah, because horror, to really sell horror without just doing, I don't know, some cheap slasher flick or, falling into the same tropes and traps that everybody else seems to do, or having to rely on like jump scares, at least with regards to the movie, it's all about creating that atmosphere and that tension. And a lot of that happens within the pacing. Now, sometimes that does mean it's actually better to like take that foot off the gas just a little bit. Right. And let people like get to an emotional point in the story where you've let your readers kind of like experience something heavy and then pull back and kind of let them sit with it.
Yeah.
Kind of sitting in that moment of dread. It's like in a good horror film, like a well done one that really knows how to leverage the atmosphere and that feeling of dread, right, in the tone and pacing, where either something is about to happen and you can feel it, or something just happened and nobody's been able to really process it yet. And so there's just like this almost a silence. Even if there are characters having a dialogue, there's this weird, eerie silence happening that kind of like leaves you in that state of dread. And that's, I think, where horror, like well done horror, lives.
I agree. And I really love suspense. Not too much suspense. I don't like, who does it that just drives me crazy? Like you know what I mean? Where they just drag out the suspense and I'm like, come on, stop edging me. It's just get it over with. That just drives me crazy. It's too much. I like that right amount of suspense to just build that tension up and just keep you just.
If I can ask Danny, like your previous work, your novels and whatnot, how many of those were horror? All of them? None of them?
The one, yes.
I mean, you technically wrote 3 books. So you technically wrote 3 books, right?
Well, because that means I'm more impressed than I was even before, because you have like horror is such a like you got to keep trying and learning from it over and over again. So to have it down as well as you do with only one novel before this being horror, because I mean I've written probably a dozen horror, not like it was probably the genre that I wrote in the most. And it was so much trial and error. So like you've got the tension down perfectly already, and you understand the formula and the assignment, and so I'm even more impressed than I was before.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I think you've done something really exceptional here. I think this is a really unique book within the crowdfunding space. I'd love to get more attention on it because I think that people will really enjoy it. It's I think that we've kind of got to try to figure out a way to get it out to horror fans and to not just regular comic book crowdfunding readers, but like a different audience. Because I think if this were on the shelf at Barnes and Noble, first of all, I think manga readers would gravitate to this. I think that if it was on the shelf at Barnes and Noble, to have young adult novel readers, things like that would be coming in and checking this out, and any fan of horror. So I think that there is a huge audience out there for your book. I just don't know that it's hitting like the crowdfunding audience in the right way. So the question is how do we get past that and get it out?
Traditionally, horror comics don't do very well is the trick.
They went underground because of the Comic Authority, and they've never really recovered since then because they had like this big underground movement when the code got enforced. And of course, like naturally made people want it more because they were told to not want it. But like ever since that got lifted in the 1990s, like they kind of stagnated again. And part of the issue that they struggle right now, look guys, I researched this. Part of the reason they struggle is because a lot of the folks that write the stuff just kind of, they like to do the cheap tactics, right? And they kind of think like, oh, look, I'm so smart and witty because I'm doing the same thing that like everybody else has done, because a lot of them actually don't read all the other horror comics, or if they do, they're just doing it to copy. And when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, it doesn't have the same effect. So.
But yeah, I've seen Multiplicity. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When you look at horror though,
Legs are gonna have to come off, Steve.
When you look at the horror fan base though, you will never find a more loyal.
They are frothing. They froth them out.
That's why Warner Brothers had the successful year that it had last year. Like it had something like 7 movies in a row that all opened over 40 million because they did a lot of low budget horror stuff. And the horror fans will show up no matter what. So if we can get this in front of horror people and they're willing to try a graphic novel, I think that you could have a lot of success with that. So
if
Danny, do you know who Hart D. Fisher is?
No.
Okay, so Hart D. Fisher is a comic book guy. He got a lot of notoriety. He got hit with an obscenity charge, I think, in Florida, or in the early 90s, for comics that he was producing that were, and like fought this big censorship battle. But the industry didn't step in to defend him the way they did, like so many other creators that were hit with censorship, because he had written this book in the 90s called Kill Image, which was making fun of Image Comics. But anyway, he has a horror channel on Roku. And he does really good advertising packages for like horror comics and things like that. So if you'd like, I can put you in contact with him. We can see if we can get some attention there.
Well,
yes, please.
I'm glad that we're talking about this because my next question is, who is somebody you would recommend this comic to and why?
I'd recommend this comic to anybody who just likes reading, anybody who's not squeamish and who likes reading suspenseful, character-driven tales. The neat thing about this book is if you think of a movie like, say, Terminator 2, if you go and you watch Terminator 2, that movie kind of ramps up the same way. It's just rising. Then you get a little break, with them getting away and getting off to the desert and things like that. But the tension is still building because they're still being hunted. And then you get into the third act, which is spectacular. There's no real fat on that movie. And this is kind of how I feel about this first issue. Granted, this isn't the full story the way that Terminator 2 gets to tell a full story. This is just the first part. So we don't get to like any kind of break or any kind of, we're all action all the way through, rising up to the cliffhanger. So, but I think that if you continue in this vein, you will hit that model of like a book that is just a story that is just no fat whatsoever and just all storytelling. I got thrown off by whatever that was.
Sorry, that was my computer. It just started randomly playing something.
It happens to me all the time. Well, the second one really explores the magic side as well. So there's still the horror aspect. There's still plenty of that, but there's also magic as well and ghosts. So the more the fantasy side of it comes into play as well. So,
right. But Andrew, who would you recommend this comic to and why?
I actually have a handful of friends that are big fans of horror. they're like
you have
nobody.
friends.
Like,
I'm so happy for you.
I'm a friend.
You sound so surprised, but also proud. So I'll lean into the latter.
I don't know the way Andrew describes your relationship on Twitter, Caro. It seems like you're his tormentor.
You know,
that's what siblings are.
Do you know how he deals with it? Do you know how he deals with it? He torments me.
Oh,
it's called paying it forward. It's or trickle down tormenting.
Yeah, trickle down effect. Yeah,
we like that. Yeah, I've got a handful of friends that really enjoy horror quite a lot. They're nobody of like notoriety or anything, though. I do have, now that I think about it, Jeff is a big horror fan, as is Nick.
Big fan of art and comics too, Jeff.
Yeah, so I'll have to shoot it his way as well, because he loves horror.
Tomorrow, now that I've read the script and not just read the Kickstarter description and looked at the pages that are on display, now that I've actually gotten into it and read the full thing, every week on Comics Aficionados, we have a bit at the end where we recommend comics of the week. So I will go ahead and I will throw your link in the chat tomorrow on Comics Aficionados and recommend that people go check it out. So
thank you.
I would also recommend it to any horror fans that I know. The reason why my computer made a noise was I had a friend who used to have a horror channel, and I was checking to see if he still had it and had updated it recently, because it shows you how great of a friend I am, that I don't know. And when I opened up YouTube, Base Windu started to play. So, but he doesn't. It doesn't look like he has updated recently. But yeah, I would give this to any horror aficionado. I think that, especially people that like vampire stuff, probably people who like vampire stuff but don't like the post-Twilight vampire stuff.
Yeah,
because this is a return to vampires as monsters as opposed to vampires as like sparkly sex symbols.
Yeah. Which is I'm totally against. I kind of joke that my vampires follow the F's, the 3 F's. They fight, they feed, and they. They do all the F's,
and it's not aspirational.
A few of my favorite things.
Same.
All right, perfect. Well, then we have one more question. Are you ready, Danny?
Yes.
Okay, so the last question is, what are your final thoughts that you want to share about the script that we haven't covered already?
Me?
The panel.
Okay.
I know your thoughts.
I'll say this, and I've been kind of waiting to say this because I like when this kind of thing happens, and it's that initially just based on the premise, it wouldn't be something I would normally read. Like when Caro threw it at me and when you threw it at me, I was like, premise doesn't sound like it's normally my type of thing. But my favorite thing happened next, which was when I read it. I was like, oh, this is actually good.
Yeah, when you get out of your little comfort zone there, Andrew.
Right? No, but that's true. But I like when that happens. And I love that when that happens, especially in comic books, because it can happen in a number of ways. It can happen with like the premise, the story, the genre that it's playing within. But it can also happen sometimes with the art as well. Anybody that knows Narwhal, and his work, he's a fantastic writer and a fantastic visual storyteller. His art style isn't typically my type of bag. It's incredibly highly stylized. It is not normally something that I would pick up off of the shelf, but because I know how good of a storyteller he is, and like his layouts that he does, I know that it's a great piece of work, and I end up enjoying it anyway. And I've said this to him personally, so I'm not saying anything that he hasn't heard out of my mouth already.
Oh no.
And this was the same way, in at least on the story end, where it's like premise that doesn't sound like it's something that's normally my cup of tea. But then I read it, and I really enjoyed it because you made your characters human, you made them people, you made them individuals. They didn't all have the same voice, right? It didn't sound like Emma had the same voice as Jimmy. She wasn't just female version of him or vice versa, right? They were people, they were characters. And the The pacing was really well done. The setup to how she ends up losing the leg was very well done. And I was like, oh, so that's how it happens, right?
I had forgotten it. Like earlier, I was like, oh, I guess maybe that doesn't play into this, like I thought it did. And then I forgot about it. And then when I got to it, I was like, oh, okay.
So I didn't know it was coming. And there was always, and I noticed in the descriptions, there was always a lot of things about legs. And like close-ups of like a leg or something like that, or of like a sock or a foot or something like that. And I was like, she really has a lot of stuff with like showing the legs. And then I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, because it's coming off.
Yeah.
Those legs are gonna have to come off, Steve.
Yeah.
And it does in such a you do it in such a, like I said, such a surprising way. That I was
surprising for the character too. I don't think she realizes it until she gets.
No, I mean, isn't that the
adrenaline?
I just saw a video the other day of somebody who got into a motorcycle accident, and it's like their boot is lying a little ways away from them, and then they realize that it's not just the boot that's lying a little ways away from them, and it's just like oh my, so it felt, I guess maybe because I just seen that video too, it felt extra visceral and extra real for me. But it's so well done. I think that what you've done here, Danny, I think is really a triumph of a first issue.
Yeah.
I think that anybody who reads this is going to be able to get into it. Horror is not my,
and that's before Evan's art being added to it too.
Yeah, I like horror.
Oh my gosh,
I like horror films quite a bit.
Did you say art?
Yeah,
I did.
I love how misshapen the hunched over.
The arms yeah.
There's no doubt in this book, through their actions, but all, in the script, that these things are monsters. And then the visuals that Evan gives it, like they are going to be super frightening.
I think that what you have is already a very strong script, like Aaron was saying. And I think that once you add this artwork, it's going to be like when they added the John Williams score to Star Wars. Like it's the missing piece of the thing that's going to make it truly perfect.
Who's doing the coloring?
Evan. Evan does everything.
Evan does it all. He's a triple. Technically, he's a quadruple. But can't he letter too?
Yeah.
Evan can do whatever he sets his mind to.
Evan brings home the bacon and fries it up in a pan.
Yeah. I was really happy to recommend him. I think he needs more work, but I also would like him to work on my stuff too. So I'm a little selfish. Just like, I want you to work more, but also work on my things. Yeah.
No, that's the thing too, right? You've got your team, but then you're like, but I could put you on this, and you could make this money over here, and I could put you here, and so that's why I end up reusing a lot of the same people, is because I know what their work. Once I know what your work ethic is, once I know that you're going to deliver, I will get you as much work as possible, whether it's with me or not.
Yeah, especially when it comes down to vouching for people. Yeah, because if you vouch for somebody and they fall through, then it comes back on you, and it's like,
Yeah, we're meeting Tuesday to start another set of pages. So very, very excited.
Very good.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Well, yeah, let's get some attention on this book, because I think it deserves it.
Absolutely.
Excellent. That was wonderful. So we're going to wrap up with the very final thing that we all need to do for the people who came in late. So who are you, and where can people find you?
Should I go first? Okay, I'll go first.
Go first. It's fine.
Okay, I'm Aaron Sparrow. I'm a writer-editor. I work in video games. I've worked in animation. I work in comic books, and I have my own book that is actually going to be it may be on the water now. Kneel Before Doomface #1. So check. I'll be pimping that. I'm also working on a book called The Vengeance of Vincent Spector, which if you check out my Instagram and my Twitter, you can see little snippets of that we're showing off, and a variety of other books that I'm doing with other people. I work on The Atlantean with Russ Leach. I'm doing a bunch of other stuff that I can't talk about. And you can find me on Thinking Critical on Saturday mornings and during the week on the Thinking Critical's Geek Fix podcast. And on Tuesday nights, I am over with Andy Andrew over there with Jeff Hicks and Script Doctor on World Class Bullshitters. So check us out there as well.
Fantastic. Danny, I choose you.
Hi, my name is Danny Sansi. I have a channel called Comics and you can find me there Wednesday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you all the nerdy news and gossip that's going on in our nerdy pop culture world. And on Thursdays, we have film discussion with the lovely Caro Brown on plot holes and payoffs. And I also have, breakdowns about all your favorite nerdy characters in film, TV, and comic books. And oh, look at that. I'm a indie comic creator now too. So check that out.
Wonderful. Andrew.
I am Andrew Rodriguez, aka Andy Andrew, aka Documenter, and I am one of the writers and editors over at Riververse Publishing. I am also our social media manager. I also do some YouTube stuff. I co-run a Harry Potter lore channel called Room of Requirement with my lady. I co-run a new comic book review channel called Foil Variants with my buddy Spencer. I also sometimes stream games on my channel, but sometimes I'm just tired and I don't want to. And I want a game for myself. You can also find me on Tuesday nights, as Aaron said, at about 8 p.m. Central at World Class Bullshitters for whatever we're calling the show these days. We've had like 5 different names for it over the last.
I think it was the Tuesday Night Takedown was what it was last there.
Tuesday Night Takedown, but the week before was Tuesday Night Takeover. So like we're workshopping.
So next week it's Tuesday Night Takeout. There you go.
Yeah, we're all gonna have like whatever our favorite takeout dish is right in front of us, and we're gonna eat.
That's great.
I'm kind of down for
that.
that.
I want to go.
I'll be there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go get myself some Panda Express and it'd be good to go.
Oh yeah, the good orange chicken. Yeah.
I love sushi. I'll get sushi.
Okay.
There's a place called Seuss High Eat Station around in Florida. I don't know if you guys have that there, but they make sushi burritos, and that's my favorite.
I will
sushi
back.
burritos.
I am Marvin Montanaro. I am the editor-in-chief of ThatParkPlace.com, and I'm managing editor of GeeksandGamers.com. Also on YouTube at the M4 Empire, which is my channel. I go live with the Real Life Fake Wizard twice a week for Culture Crossfire. And I am an author of several years who I've published more than 30 novels as a ghostwriter, and I'm currently working on my epic fantasy novel, which should be releasing sometime in the next year, which is really I'm pouring my heart and soul into it, so we'll hopefully be able to talk about that sometime in the future. But right now, I can't really say much, and I have another couple of super secret projects in the works that I cannot talk about yet. So keep a lookout for that. And I'm also on the WW Pro channel, That Park Place channel, Geeks and Gamers Play. So Thank you.
Outstanding. I'm Kara Brown. You found my channel, so I think you know who I am, but I'm a writer and editor of things. If you ever need a writer and editor, I'm affordable, so feel free to reach out and talk to me about that. This was a wonderful experience. I thank you all so much for coming and hanging out today, and if we do it again, that will be interesting. I don't know what will happen, but we'll just play it by ear. But until then, we're going to go ahead and end the stream because I know some of you have places that you need to go and things that you need to do and food that needs to be eaten. So I'm going to go ahead and click the end stream button and start waving, and hopefully it will end when I do this. Let's find out together.